When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
All right, some breaking news to get to, but I'll bring in our guest here because I want to get some reaction on the subject. Éric Duhaime is leader of the Quebec Conservative Party, and he's got some celebrating to do this week. Mr. Duhaime, Éric, welcome back to the show.
Always a pleasure.
So before we get to the celebrations, just want to take our listeners to the National Assembly where we're hearing from both the Premier and from the Justice Minister Simon Jolin Barrette, and they're both commenting on the CEO of Air Canada. They're calling for the CEO of Air Canada's resignation over that English-only message in the aftermath of the LaGuardia crash. Listen, what's your take on this?
Well, obviously, it was not smart from him to just have a message in English after the tragedy. I think it was very regrettable, and I join everybody who's condemning it now to say that he should resign because of that. Look, we knew he didn't speak French a few years ago, and he didn't have to resign then. And unfortunately, he still doesn't speak French. But take out Air Canada and that Rousseau guy. But let's look at it from a broader perspective. I mean, it's always good for people, especially people who have great jobs like that, to be bilingual in Quebec in both ways. And I think that it's unfortunate that we should push to make sure that our kids are much more bilingual. We should push for more immersion schools in Quebec, and that's the kind of thing that if we want to be proactive. I understand that now it's becoming a symbol with Air Canada, but if we want to solve the issue at the bottom, we need to go at the roots of it, and I think that's where we should invest. We should have much more kids in Quebec that are fluent, and it's always an advantage. If you want to help your kid one way or the other, the best thing that you can do is to provide him a bilingual education, and I think that's where we should invest as society. That should be the priority of the government right now.
And of course, I know you're proof of that with the decisions your parents made way back when. Okay, let's talk about why you're celebrating this week. Your party is back in the National Assembly after you've convinced a former CAQ minister, Maïté Blanchette-Vézina, to join your party. So what does this change for the Quebec Conservatives?
Well, it changes first that I'm going to have access to the press much easier in the National Assembly. I mean, I could do my press conferences daily like all the other parties. So the image of the hot room that you see every day, I'll be able to be there with Maïté Blanchette-Vézina daily. But generally speaking, outside of Parliament, it's also bringing a lot more. I think it shows the seriousness that we've been working on for a few years now to make sure we professionalize the party, to bring a respected woman who was a cabinet minister for years, a mayor before that, a lawyer. She brings, I think, some more credibility to the party. I think that's important. The second thing is also to send a signal to all voters that Conservatives in Quebec are open to those from other parties who want to change the model in Quebec, who think that the solution is not more taxes, more bureaucrats. And that's a great signal to all Quebecers. And it also brings us to the roots of what the Conservative is in Quebec. So if you want to eliminate the deficit, if you want to cut the bureaucracy, if you want to exploit our natural resources, namely our natural gas, if you want to have easier access to healthcare with competition with the private and the public sector, then you should vote for the Conservatives. I think it's the message that it's sending. I did more interviews in the last 48 hours than in the last year. So I think it's always important to bring some symbols like her. And I think she's going to be, it's also going to be not only myself as Conservative, because unfortunately, a lot of people know only me as a spokesperson for the party. We try to push other people that are very good among our candidates, but it's always difficult. Now that we have a seasoned politician with us, I think it's going to be easier.
Yeah, and that's very true, right? Because sometimes it's difficult when you're perceived as a one-man show.
Yeah.
And now you can say, okay, we can at least fill the two front seats of a car. So that's not bad. Okay, so let me just ask you about this. The fit here is Madame Vézina ideologically, politically. Is there a true fit with your party? I know she's been on various sides of political spectrum in the past. So how do you view that?
Well, you're right that she had different positions on certain issues than me, and the one that is the major one is natural gas. She was opponent to natural gas many years ago when we had the debate in Quebec, and I think many Quebecers were against it.
So from here, there are a bunch of independent MNAs in the National Assembly, and we're getting so close to the next election that you can argue that the people in those ridings will get their say very quickly if someone were to switch teams, okay? Do you think there'll be more? Will there be other MNAs for the Conservatives before the election?
My priority right now is to switch voters, not necessarily just MNAs. And I needed one to get inside the National Assembly. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it's not going to be my priority. But as you rightly pointed out, people are changing. But also, we have to understand that many of us voted for the CAQ in the past because we thought they were center-right. And then we realized slowly but surely and at different time, depending of who we are, but that they're not doing what they were elected for. And that explains why the Conservatives are going up and why the CAQ is going down and why people are switching parties. It's not them who are changing. It's the CAQ that has completely betrayed voters who voted for them. So I think that's also important to underline at this point.
What do you think is going to happen in their leadership race? We got, 2-3 more weeks left there. What do you think is going to happen between Drainville and Fréchette?
Well, what I heard is that, Madame Fréchette, Ms. Fréchette is way ahead. So we'll have to wait another few days. But I don't think it's going to change much, actually. What I hear is that they don't trust the CAQ anymore. I mean, it's the government that is unpopular. It's not one person in particular, and it's the whole team. And unfortunately, they were both part of the team. So it's not like in Ottawa that they had a savior coming from the outside. They have two people who were part of the government that are now running against each other. And for many voters, they're not even listening at what's going on out there.
Mr. Duhaime, we got to run. Thanks so much for your time today.
Always Thank you so much.
Éric Duhaime, leader of the Quebec Conservative Party.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd.
And more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.